Welcome to the Behind the Remodeler podcast, brought to you by KM Builders, episode number 2. Today we are talking to Jaime Hernandez of Pink Door Designs. Welcome, Jaime. We're glad to have you on our podcast series.
Well, thank you.
So, for those who don't know, Jaime is one of our influential designers in the city. She's worked for several different builders and remodelers throughout the course of her career here and has worked even in other cities. But a lot of beautiful designs, and we're proud to have her associated with KM Builders. So, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I am born and raised out of Houston, Texas. I was formerly trained and educated out in San Diego, California, where I received my degree from the Art Institute. I graduated in 2010, but after 2010, shortly there, we moved here in San Antonio, where I really built my brand here. This is home for me, design-wise. So I've been working with designers, remodelers for the last several years, just doing, anything from one room to an entire house.
Well, we enjoy working with you, and the team has benefited from seeing the great designs on your projects that we do together, and look forward to doing many more. And I want to give a little insight into the processes that happen with a team like this. And we also want to make sure that people know what some of the trends are.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you can help us with talking about that today.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite things to do is to look at the trends of what's going on. And for me as a designer, I'm constantly being inundated. Well, not inundated, but I know that there's Pinterest, right? A lot of our clients come to us with their Pinterest boards and hows and such of those things. But for me, I'm a very tactile person. I like to look through all of the magazines, so Elle Decor and some of these more higher end, Architectural Digest. I like to look through those magazines and go through them myself when it's just quiet time and coffee time in the morning, and I constantly will just tear out pages, and when I take a look, and I can consistently see a thread. It's a color, a pattern, a texture, some sort of material that's happening, and I start to just stick them, like things to like things to like things, and
Right.
before you know it, I start to have content.
Well, I appreciate that you bring those things to us too, so that we can see what you're seeing and what your inspiration is.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we like to see it from a client as the builder, we like to see what's inspiring you as a designer, and it helps us to be able to see visual things, because we all need it to make sure we're on the same page.
Right. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. I wholeheartedly believe that.
Mm-hmm. And you've got to have several subscriptions so you can rip them all up. And,
That's
and
right.
We don't mind doing that
Rip
either.
them up and cut them in little pieces and create your own vision boards. I just started putting them up on my office and just taping them up there and just changing it and making my own notes.
And you've brought some today for me to
Yes.
help me, and so we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get started on what you think some of the industry trends are. What's the first thing you think that we should talk about?
Number one is color. I think that one is probably the most easiest and the one that is, constantly changing, and the one that most people, I think, are finding that's the most fun to talk about, right? I will say that blue has been a very popular color here lately with some of our clients.
Mm-hmm. And you're seeing it in magazines.
Seeing it in
also.
magazines. I mean, as you can see, I've got just loads of tons of shades of blue here. It is 50 shades of blue, and I'm loving this color because it's so workable, versatile. You can go more deep in the indigos. You can do something a lot lighter in the denim. It's funny, we just have one of our clients, Mrs. Seal. She loves blue. She loves the blue and white color scheme.
I know you love blue. You're dressed in blue.
I'm dressed in blue. I love it. It's warm, it's comforting, it's casual, it's relaxing, but can also get very moody and
there are different feels from
there's
different blues, aren't there? It's not
different-
all ocean.
It's not all ocean. So, and our clients are really digging that, and they're getting a lot more bold with their choices and making those color choices in more hard surface finishes, like cabinets or putting it into tile. You know, we just did a bathroom backsplash for the Guthries. They did the blue subway in their
It was beautiful.
secondary bathroom,
It
which
was
became
beautiful.
a very good focal point.
And it was exciting to me to see that, and
Yeah.
see you using bloom as an example of some of the things you do for us.
Yes, so I think color-wise, we're seeing blue. The next on that color trend is pink, believe it or not.
Pink door designs.
Pink door designs. You know, listen, I've always been a trailblazer
always
and a
liked
trend center.
pink.
I've always liked pink. But actually, it is on trend and on point. And I don't know if you're familiar, but Allison Crawford, she's a hotelier, and she was here for our Business of Design Summit earlier this year, and she mentioned the same color, saying that pink was one of those colors that is on trend, and you're probably going to be seeing it a lot more. And it was funny because I was just at a tile showroom not too long ago, and one of our other designers, she was asking me, she says, hey, I'm looking for a tile. I need a soft rosy pink tile. And she was like, I don't know where or why, but the client was just asking for this soft rosy pink tile. I'm like, And then you could hear some of the other, you know, some of our other colleagues saying, what, soft rosy pink? And I was like, no, that's on trend, it really
They were
is.
kind of surprised.
Yeah, kind of surprised.
Well, coincidentally, look at the picture of the house that I worked on in Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Rosa, Casa Rosa is what we called it. It was a little house, but it was funny that now they're in trend.
Yeah,
Now, that thing
they're-
has been there for 37 years, but I don't know when it was painted pink,
Yeah.
but it's a rosy pink.
And it can go, again, it's one of those colors, you know, you see it in this flora and fauna, which is more on pattern, but again, anything floral and fauna is one of those things that you're going to see in wallpapers and fabrics when you're starting to look for your more interior decor. But color tone wise, it can go in a broad range of those rose quartz, which I think we've seen that a lot in fashion, where the rose quartz, that metal, was something that people were using. But it works in a lighter shade, but then it's also more fun and sophisticated in the brighter shade. But you can see when you put it in a master bedroom in a more soft, subtle tone,
I like
it
the subtle
really
tones better.
it really
They
does.
are very pretty.
It really
Very
is
elegant.
very pretty, very elegant, very soothing. So I think when you start to use a very soft, mellow, maybe like with a peach undertone with some, you know, here we're seeing it with some, you know, very nice draperies that are done in a natural material with the
It crosses over into the shell, the
yes,
shell colors.
a capiche shell, yes. And they've compared it with some more blues and whites and gold accents.
I think that really goes well with blue.
It
The
does.
lighter shades of the pink or shell color. And like you said, even a peach undertone is really
The
attractive.
peachy undertone, especially, and it again, it just, this really kind of makes it feel more cocoon-like and very sultry and soft for a bedroom, for a master bedroom.
I think
so
it, and it's light colored. It feels very energetic. It doesn't subdue. I mean, sometimes we want those subdued colors. Sometimes we want that warmth, that the even darkness in some rooms. But in a lot of rooms, we want that airy light feeling, and I think that's really exemplified by those colors.
Right. Well, and you always ask a client too, when especially in bedrooms, it's like, you know, what's the purpose of the bedroom? You go there to sleep, to relax, to retreat. When you're sick, you're there to rest. You also have intimate time there. So the room has to be very flexible, and you want a color that's not too jarring, right?
And do you find that a lot of the clients are looking for a different mood, and that maybe one color that another one would like really
Right.
wouldn't suit?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so that's why a lot of times clients do kind of, and because you're dealing with a wife and a you know, a male and a female typically. So when you're asking them, you know, you want a gender color or a color that will work for both genders, so
Right.
to speak, or color that is drawn
And
to,
that
for
can be a
both of them,
challenge.
and it can be a challenge. But I will say, I did one bedroom a couple of years ago, and we did this beautiful mauve tone, and it was gorgeous, and they loved it. And
Well, there's strength in some of the purple hues, and then you've got that warmth still. That's a nice
Warmth,
compromise.
and it's a little bit fresh too.
Would you find that a lot of the men would struggle with the lighter pinks?
I think the pink might be a little bit more of it's a more of a daring color, but as we're seeing it in this one inspiration image, you can see that it's really not that feminine or juvenile.
I think so too, and especially when you add the blues to it. And you know what also comes to mind is that there's so many now are wanting twin master suites.
Yes.
And so that allows for that very unique palette for one spouse, and then the other spouse can have the stronger palette of something else.
Right.
No matter what that might be.
Yes. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
that's neat. Even more reason to have twin master suites.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Right. More reason exactly. His and hers, it works out. So the twin master suites. So that was one of the other colors that.
That is a little surprising. I hadn't seen that I've seen the blues in some of our projects, but I haven't seen the pinks. Right. So I look forward to seeing some of them. After seeing what you've shown me, I look forward to seeing some in our projects.
Absolutely. I will listen. I am a big fan of color, and I will constantly. I'll push it. I'm just. You sure you want to try this? You want to try this?
Yeah, I like that.
You never know what someone will. They may say I want this. I want this blue and white, but then all of a sudden you show them a whole different color scheme, and they go with something they didn't quite expect.
Right. Something that has turned you on. You share the energy. You share the excitement, and and a lot of times it's contagious.
Yes, and that's the whole point. The whole point about working with the designer is it's taking your style and amplifying it and tying it and having it be more tailored to your style and stylizing it and amplifying it 10 times more than what you would have done had you not hired a professional.
And I think that one of the comments I get a lot is they tell me things that they're interested in, but they also are really trying to make sure that I get the point that they would like inspiration. And so we tell them that we're not short on inspiration. Do not fear. We will hear what you say, and we will bring in professionals that definitely will give you some new ideas and things and then double check your ideas to see if they're going to be practical or not. And they want to know that. They really do.
Well, no, they absolutely do. And a lot of times, when I'm able to sit down with a client and they're able to bring me their ideas of what they envision, it becomes more of a collaborative process at that point. It's taking, it's basically my time to look through their drawings and find the common thread and help draw that out. And then, it's like, okay, this is the common thread. Now, what do you think? And do we like it? Are we in love? Are they happy? Are they talking? Yes, they are. Or maybe it wasn't quite as what they thought. Yep. And so
your perceptions are very valuable. So what else we've got that you think is really trending?
Trending. Let's talk about black. I think we are. Black has been one of those colors that it is a classic staple. Definitely
classic.
And it does so much for the interior. It's more about the interior architecture. If you have just a home, or if you're renting an apartment, or if you bought this house and the doors don't have any raised paneling detail, and they're just and the molding is just kind of less than par. If you painted all of those doors a high gloss black, it would just make it all pop and really make everything seem a lot more luxurious.
Even our clothing that we wear, when we wear black, we look like we are dressed up.
Yes, it's just there's something about black that people really should not be afraid to work with that color in the interiors of their home.
I've seen black ceilings.
Yes.
And that is incredible. I mean, the way the crown molding pops.
Yes.
And any color, and if it has a little black detail that brings that into the walls or the floors, it really ties it together. And I don't know, I think a black ceiling is really outstanding.
A black ceiling is high drama with low cost. It is the easiest way to make your dining room or your office look very high dollar with very minimal.
We need to do that soon. We haven't done it on a project yet, but I want to, at least not lately, I want to do some black ceilings.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll do it in my
I'm
house.
with you on 100%. I'll come over and help you paint, because I am a big fan and advocate for that, because The dark.
Do you see that though when you see it? Do you see it like in specialized rooms or I haven't seen it throughout a whole home. Have you ever seen it throughout an entire home?
Winston necessarily is throughout an entire home. I think that when you're working with the black, you have to be very judicious about where you're placing it, but make it intentional about, okay, I'm going to put it in the dining room. I have all the doors black, and then you're repeating. It's that repetitiveness.
I would like to see it in an office at my home.
Again, offices are a great space as long as you got some great light that comes in, and working with contrast is very important when you're working with black.
Yes, good.
Mm-hmm.
So black, I mean, there's a lot of shades of black too.
Yes, there is a lot of shades of black.
The espresso color was real popular in cabinets for a long time, and that allows a little more of a blend to a brown, I guess, would you say?
Yes, the undertones. I'll tell you, one of my favorite blacks is Domino by Sherwin-Williams. We did that one for cabinetry, and it just turns out to be just a really nice black. It's not too black. It's not like a really dark, ebony. It has just a little bit of that charcoal undertone.
Nice,
Yes.
nice. And
but you're right. The undertones are really important when you're picking color.
Because real strict black, I mean, really strict black can be hard to start matching other products to.
You're right.
You're limited, right, with
Yes.
furniture and so forth.
Well, I mean, I think it's more about the finish. Finish is important because if you're working with a high gloss,
Then you're limited.
well, you're not limited. I think yes. I mean, you've got to be. I think high gloss is good for doors, trim of that nature. But you have, if you're gonna do some lacquered walls in black or in a very intense indigo color or a gorgeous emerald green or a red, those walls really have to be prepped and primed and ready to go.
That's it. I tend to go. I mean everything. I mean even furniture that's in a lower gloss on black is safer because you're not going to find an imperfection.
Right,
in it.
you will not find the imperfection. So finish.
And it becomes a little harder to identify the color of the black, which leaves you a little more room if it's not real glossy. But I mean the Asian furniture was typically that high gloss, and it still has its place.
Yeah.
That look of that material, that wood, like you said, even walls and ceilings. But black as a common thread can be used as a common thread to a lot of different rooms, right?
A lot of different rooms, and I think as long as you, like if you started out with your kitchen island, then you, like I said, you did it on your doors, and then you start thinking about your light fixtures. You pulled it in, with your master bedroom light fixtures, and some of your faucets. You'll see faucets is nowadays, it comes in that matte black finish. If you have it in your laundry room, you did this matte black, the Purist faucet in matte black by Kohler. It's repeating it again.
I like it.
I
like it a lot.
You
So
have a
black is
media
back.
room, and you want to do that media, the ceiling, and that black, or
Don't be afraid.
don't
to
be
use
afraid to use it.
Black is back.
And think that absolutely black is black, and also when you're starting to do that darker color, think high contrast. Get a beautiful black and white photograph, put it up, have it framed, or have multiple pictures, and just start working. It's a blank canvas for your art.
That is true. Yeah, can't go wrong with black.
Yes.
I see it in a lot of the artwork, like you said, and a lot of the outlines. I don't like black grout on a white tile, though. That is really difficult.
That one's a hard toughie
That's
for you.
a tough one, yeah. I mean, then you start scrutinizing every tile. It could be 1 millimeter off, and it shows with black grout. So
Yeah.
be sure and warn me if you're going to do any black grout on a white tile. A little more subtle on that one.
That's funny. Well, speaking of tiles, I think we do need to address, some of the tile trends.
Yes, please.
Definitely, I think, the cement tiles that we've been seeing, the encaustic tiles.
Yeah, that's not a term everybody knows, but the cement tiles, are different than porcelain or ceramics. In porcelain ceramics, it's in the glaze. The color is in the glaze, but in concrete tiles, it's actually using different clays, which is really cool process. The encaustic tile is the pattern on the. It's not on the surface. It goes all the way through the tile.
And another thing I think people need to realize is, especially if they're remodeling, that the thickness is a lot thicker than the standard porcelain tile. So having that preparation for transition would be really important to know.
Right.
If
So,
they're gonna be putting it like on the floor or something for a bathroom.
yeah, they're really, they kind of give the feel of stone without the cost.
Mhm.
And
Definitely.
some of these are just as expensive or more than stone.
Sure, but then, it's really about, if you're putting it in a small space, behind the kitchen backsplashes, where I think I first started it when I used it a couple years ago. I will say that when you are using these encaustic cement tiles, they should be sealed. I've learned that the hard way.
Because it's a porous product.
Because it's a porous product. It's like a cement. I mean, it really is a cement, and cement is, I think a lot of people get very comfortable thinking, oh, it's cement, it takes the abuse. But it should be sealed if you're going to use it and install it, especially in a kitchen or anywhere. You could use it on the face of a fireplace, with put it on the face of a fireplace, just pick a really great pattern, and with a rustic wood beam as a mantle, and just call it done.
That'd be nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of each encaustic tile is handmade. It's really a piece of artwork.
It is, and I think the reason why it's made such a current, it's becoming so popular nowadays, and while we're seeing it, this is something that they've been doing this for years. I mean, it's been around for so long.
For centuries.
Yes, it's it's like one of those things, you just one of those, trends just kind of resurface, and I think that's just what we're seeing today is just it's resurfacing, and it's a lot more in these fun, more modern patterns, and people are starting to use them. As you see in this particular image that we're looking at, they really went for it on the floor. This tone on tone or monochromatic pattern, looks like a quilt, and then they didn't stop there and did stripes, horizontal stripes with the tile.
It's very bold.
In the same monochromatic color, going up as a chairway up on the bathroom. While it's bold, at the same time, it still feels very warm.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think, the sky's the limit is when you start working with these types of materials in your home.
And of course, white is a great way to show everyone the real color.
Mm-hmm.
And you use some real nice white accents in furniture or in fixtures, tubs, and wall paints, trim paints.
Mm-hmm.
This really shows the true blue or the true black or any of the real colors in your cement tiles. You've got to have some white in there, in my opinion.
Yes, and I will say that's another trend that I started to see was designing with white, living with white, and having people I think people are starting to go back more into we're actually even seeing beige come back a little bit, but
really?
White has been another.
It's timeless.
Yeah,
white.
It's timeless, and people are, I think, needing just that break. They come home, they're working. People seem to be working a lot longer hours these days, and they just want a rush, a reprieve from the day. And so finding the right white for your home is a good important. I think So High White is one of my favorites. It's a good overall white.
So High White by
So High
Sherwin-Williams.
White by Sherwin-Williams.
And along with talking about white, you mentioned the right white for your home. It's also the right amount of white, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't want it to look like a hospital or something like that.
Yes.
We want it to be antiseptic. We want it to be warm still.
Yes.
But I gotta say, white is probably the most common consistent thing that we've seen in remodeling over all the decades we've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
White stays around. There always comes around.
Always comes around.
And there's always a good swath of our clients that are still sticking with some white or some tone of white.
Mm-hmm. I believe because you're right, because there's some whites that have a more of a bronze undertone whites. There's some whites that are more blues and grays, whites, and you really need to look, check. I really encourage when people are picking paint, even when you're working with your professional, to do a color test in your home. It doesn't cost and take just a little extra time. Go down to this paint store, put up the actual paint color that was suggested to you by your designer or by
See
your
how it looks
builder.
in your light.
See how it looks in your light on all hours of the day to make sure that it doesn't change.
That's a very good idea.
Because color and light will change on you in a dime. I'll tell you, this happened to me not too long ago. We picked the particular white. I'm not going to say it because, no, I'm going to say it to save everybody. The Eider white from Sherwin-Williams. And
Does not look white.
Does not look white. Be careful, beware. If you put it up, it has a magenta undertone in it. Did not know that until we went to go put it up, and the client calls me in a panic saying, Jaime, the house is pink. She goes, I don't know what happened. I don't know where or how, but the house is pink. She goes, seriously, you need to come and look at this. And I'm like, no, we even
No
color
way.
tested it. We even color tested it.
Right.
And I went to go look, and she was right. It was pink. Like, I don't know how.
It wasn't what was planned.
Something about the way the light hit it in her home, it just made,
amazing, isn't it?
It made that smallest little magenta pop. And it happens. So really just color test.
That's how you learn. That's how you learn your color combinations, is through that experimentation.
Yes.
And then use it, and you can highly recommend it to someone if you've seen it applied before.
Yes.
But even then, you have to be careful about other surroundings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way
other
the light
surroundings, yes, and in the way, and then
might have been the window film on her windows that was tinting it.
Yes.
maybe you didn't know there was a tinted window film there. That actually can happen. As some of these people have had their windows tinted, and then they put out a different cast of light.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I like the hurricane ceiling.
The hurricane ceiling. Well, who doesn't like that?
Oh my goodness,
right?
that is cool for interest, and it's not overpowering.
No.
It does look like a hurricane. Is that what it was supposed to be?
I'm not sure.
Did you think it looks like that?
I kind of think it. I mean, I think it does as well, but I don't know. It just seems a little bit more like something that you probably, now that you say it, right? But at first, when I thought it, it looks like something like you'd find in a Starry Night or something.
Mm-hmm.
But well, now that we're looking at this, it's this big swirly, almost like large,
With a white background.
yeah, and it's got blues and grays, and it's just this big oversized.
That's why I think hurricane, because it's the swirl, and it has primarily white, like clouds, with maybe some blue and grays, like if it were covering an ocean.
Yes, and it's this oversized ceiling. It's a wallpaper that is on a ceiling.
Oh, is that what it is? It's a wallpaper.
Yes.
It wasn't. Yeah.
Yes, it's almost like a mural.
That is cool.
That is placed in a bedroom that we're
What
looking at.
tones were used here? What is that? What would you describe that tone?
That's like a mid-tone blue wall.
It almost has a hint of turquoise or something in there.
Yes, I would say maybe. It
Or-
looks kind of like just like a good denim blue.
Really?
Maybe
That's
it's
one of the,
it's the light.
there's the most disagreement on how to describe a blue and a green. Certain colors. We had a car that had that, and some people said it was green, some people said it was blue, but it was that color.
Yes. So we're just looking at this one picture that has this wallpaper mural up on the ceiling in a master bedroom or in a guest bedroom. And the mural itself is just very organic in its shape and has these soft, soothing, swirly type amoeba shapes on the ceiling.
I think it's pillowy.
Yes, and I think what we're, and that's another thing I think people forget about the ceiling being the fifth wall.
Yeah, that's true.
And
it can be utilized in this case to really create that drama you were
yes,
describing, black
absolutely.
or a pattern.
And in this next image, looks like it's like it's an alcove. It's an attic bedroom. On either side they have these little benches with pillows, and it has a coffee table in the center. It looks a little bit Asian inspired, but up on the ceiling is a trellis like wallpaper with
Tendrils of a plant.
So again, you can kind of see how one room looks more like you're under a starry night sky, and the other room looks a lot more like you know, it's, you're in a garden somewhere, you know, an Asian theme.
But like you said, using that ceiling wisely, is that becoming an increasing trend to use the
is.
ceiling more dramatically?
Again, yes, and that's what I was just saying, you know, people forget about that ceiling and having the opportunity to just, you know, go for it, you know. This one is one of my favorites, this entry right here.
Right.
So,
How would you describe that? That looks like one of those ink blotting.
yes, it's the ink blot, yes.
Ink blot, you fold the paper and,
Yes.
and it gives you a symmetrical design.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a really interesting ceiling. But again, drama on the ceiling.
Yes.
That's what
so,
we're seeing.
and in our favorite color combination, black and white, can't go wrong.
And that's
right?
like a coffee toned black, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say that.
And then
Yeah.
and then the
And then the
floors
floors are in an
pull
ebony,
that.
yeah, they're ebony wood tones.
Really nice way to pull that together.
Very clean, and then the draperies are just, you know,
And the
white.
fixture has some of those elements into it. That's a very unique fixture with just a couple of randomly tilted, very slim rectangles.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think, you know, go for it. You know, there's a lot of, you know, vendors out there or wallpapers when you're looking for, you know, inspiration. You know, not being afraid to just, if you find a wallpaper or a pattern or a fabric that you really like, heck, you can put fabric up there. I've upholstered a wall. I don't see why you couldn't upholster a ceiling, but I think really just finding something in a wall covering that you really, really like that can just take the whole room by storm, so to speak.
I like
No
these
pun
trends.
intended, right?
I think people would be well served if they use their ceiling as a more dramatic effect. And I know
Yeah.
that you'll help us get more of our clients to think about that, because what a difference it can create and create a theme in actually.
Right. And in this one, just to tie this talking point up, this one they just did it in they wallpapered the entire alcove of the entryway, right? It's like looks like bark on all the walls, like
Aspen trees.
an aspen trees,
White aspen
with
trees.
modern wood doors, with transom lights on either side, and then this beautiful geometric glass.
Side lights and
side-
transoms,
Geometric glass light fixture hanging down in a gold. But then they went for it in doing that navy blue ceiling.
Yes, I like that ceiling statement.
With the gold accents from the ceiling,
Ceiling statement is really nice, yeah.
So then just doing, again, they didn't, you know, do much on the, you know, they put the money on the wallpaper and just went for a bold color on the ceiling.
So comment on the flooring we're seeing here.
This is a wide plank floorings. This looks like, to me, this is the herringbone pattern of a wide plank wood floor.
Just two angles though, not a bunch of angles, and then it's outlined. But that wide plank flooring is becoming increasingly popular, and what we have to accommodate people is the real wood, obviously. We've got great engineered wood products, and we've got tremendous luxury vinyl plank that is bringing the cost down of a luxury. And what I love about them is, in addition to the fact that it's about 1/4 the cost of installing a real wood floor, is that they're virtually indistinguishable. And the low gloss that's so common is not always easy to get on real wood floors. You can't get that low gloss that you can get. You can get it, but it's just not as common. There's always a little more gloss on a wood floor whenever it's real wood. Again, very few manufacturers are getting down to that easy to maintain, almost completely no gloss floor, but that's the easiest thing to live on. And it doesn't show a scratch, it doesn't show dirt as easily. But you like this trend toward the wide plank?
I do like the wide plank. You know, I do like this more lighter to mid-tone wood color as well for the wood floors. I think that's
nice.
becoming another trend that I think a lot of clients are leaning more towards. They're going away from the darker, you know, the darker floors that we were seeing maybe back about 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and they're going more to the wide plank, lighter color, more natural looking.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And when you can get it and easy maintain, why not?
Well, and I think what happens is it's the way we're living, honestly. I mean, you've got, animals, young kids, active lives, people have pools, the living materials that people are installing into their homes really need to work, right?
And dark is hard to maintain.
And dark is just like a black car.
I did it once. I did it once. I'll never do it again.
It shows everything. It shows all the little paw prints. It shows all the,
So although
the
black is
stains.
back, you don't necessarily recommend it for floors.
Not for the floors.
Right.
Put it on your ceilings because
put it on your
why?
trims, put it on your doors,
trims.
but not
Yeah.
necessarily for the floors. Be prepared for a lot of continual maintenance as far as cleaning goes, especially if you do it on a floor. And I found out, like I said, we did it in one room, and we were going to do it in the entire, a much larger area that connected to it, but we decided against that.
Yeah.
We're going to go with something lighter.
Speaking of floors, let's move on to large format tiles are becoming really big too.
Oh, that is huge.
Yeah. So we just did a little bit of a tile intro the other day, and these large format tiles, they're like 36, 4 feet wide.
36 to 48 inches long.
Long.
Mm-hmm.
Very large.
Yeah, and they can be fairly narrow or wide plank.
Yeah. These large format tiles, they look like, or some of them even look like cement, like, the cement tiles that, that everybody wanted before, but they give us the durability, right, and the cleanability of a porcelain with the cement look.
Right.
Austin is very, they want that, that more, modern, industrial type look. These large format tiles really give you the ability to kind of go more for that modern industrial style.
That is a little different process of setting a large format tile. You use different types of thin set, and not all tile setters are of the same capabilities. We're doing a really good job with this, and then the quality of that tile that you buy in large format is very important because they're harder to set. If you get tiles that are more irregular, that becomes an impossible job. So you have to have a high quality tile when you go to large format. And of course, as we mentioned, there's a lot of other products that are large format that can look exactly like large format tile, which can bring down the cost quite a bit, both in installation and in product. And so those are some products, some alternates. There's a lot of nice alternatives that give the same look for a lot less cost. And so luxury vinyl plank is a huge trendy item right now. I know you've seen it on several of our projects.
Yeah, I've
too.
seen it on several of the projects for sure. Yes. So, okay. Well,
Anything
what else?
What stands out you want to wrap it up with?
I don't know.
You still have a lot of blue here.
I do have a lot of blue. Let's see. We talked about wallpaper.
What time is it right now? This will be when we're at it, just to keep it smooth. If you want to wrap it up, we got time to think about it. Let's see, we talked about cabinets, sinks, tubs, showers, doors, arches in homes, crown molding, ceiling detail.
We
How
didn't
about-
talk about cabinet styles, cabinet.
She did a little. What about still clean lines and cabinets and still real popular?
Yeah,
It's not really a trend, it's almost like a staple now.
the clean lines, like the shaker style.
What's
Yeah.
that?
So
What's that?
Okay, so you're gonna,
Well, I want to get her warmed up first and then
Black, I
see
said.
what we'll go back to. What?
I said flat.
The
Totally
flat panel?
cabinets.
I think when you ended, you said, "What else can we talk about?"
Mhm.
So you say, and then you need to chime in. It makes it edit easier. So you say, "What about?" and let her go.
Okay.
Well, I'll say what else can we wrap this up with? I'll say that sentence again,
Okay.
and then you can go with.
Okay. Yeah. Either way.
So what do you think we're going to go into?
well, I have this cabinet picture here. Let me see.
I love that.
Isn't that cool?
How about texture? Anything about texture you wanna mention?
I did. Oh, the time that we
I
started.
was thinking about
Oh,
ceiling treatments and cabinets and textures on the walls that add, kinda like this does.
I actually have patterns, this kind of,
So patterns are in.
these, yeah, this kind of tribal. Oh, wow. I'm seeing this like tribal stuff a lot, this wild pattern,
Oh, I saw that on your Instagram.
yeah.
And this?
Mm-hmm. I think it's just very,
See that in rugs.
well, we talked about, like, well, geometrics were coming back, like, we're seeing a lot of geometrics and lighting and,
I didn't know it, but I can edit it afterwards.
Oh, so you know, there you
Yeah.
go. All right,
Mhm.
cool.
It's about the same time. Or like
okay.
2 seconds off.
Did I edit in that?
Hmm?
Do you edit in that? Or is it like,
When I do the radio shows, I just do it in iMovie.
oh, nice.
I just cut out the our talking during the commercials.
So you ready? So you're gonna talk about patterns? You think you want,
We'll talk
talk
about,
about patterns?
we'll talk about patterns, and we could talk about, you know, just the cabinet styles, I guess. You were talking about,
No, let's just go to patterns,
okay,
and we'll just end it
Close
with
it out
that.
with that.
okay.
So just do it whenever it feels natural. Stop talking.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm gonna go ahead and ask the question again.
Okay.
So is there anything else, how did I say it?
What else can we wrap this up with?
Yeah, what else do you think we can wrap this up with? What else is trending, so we can wrap this up, I'll think about it.
I don't even think you should say wrap this up. You say, is there another one? You could say, is there one last one? One last trend?
I'll just say, is there anything else that stands out as a trend
Yeah.
lately? Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Just patterns, just talk about it and kinda hit it broad and quick on it, and we'll,
Okay.
you know, like, okay, what areas are we talking about here? What kinds of patterns? Okay, you ready? So is there anything else that stands out as far as trends that are popular right now?
I'm seeing a lot of patterns, tribal patterns, so to speak. Something that, you know, it's a lot of earthiness is happening. I just, you know, we did this wall covering. It's got this very jaggedy, you know, paintbrush type movement that's happening.
Almost hand painted.
Hand painted, yeah. A lot of movements happening.
Looks like watercolor,
Mm-hmm.
a watercolor feel.
Yes.
I see that in patterns and
You
pillows and so
see it in
forth.
pillows, repeated again in pillows. Then you have this other fabric swatch by Groundworks, you know, this square on square, and it's just very big, oversized brush strokes.
I like that.
I like, it's very kind of bold, but
There's-
yet it's interesting too.
There's like a little overlap, but then you still get the feel of the squareness.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's almost-
amazing what can be done with patterns.
And I think if we were looking at this a little bit more larger scale, you would probably get the feeling of a modern cheetah print or an animal print, but it's not that. Like it's almost like it took that inspiration of an animal print, but just digitized it, which I think is really, really interesting.
Those are always the best, the ones that are inspired by nature.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and then we're seeing a lot of usage of, you know, going back to the ECAP patterns in pillows and in fabrics and stuff like that.
And rugs.
And rugs.
Rugs are needed when we're going to all these low maintenance type of floors these days, and sound and so
Sound
forth. People
barriers.
want warmth back end. You see a lot more people going towards statement rugs and so forth.
Absolutely, and that's where these patterns really start to become a lot more of the interest piece, because while you're going through a remodel or building a new home, those last little, the finishing touches, like the rug, like the drapery, those things do add the softness and help, create that sound barrier that you're going to need in that home and making it feel a lot more
I like
cozy.
I like it when you mentioned it to our clients, to put some of those statement rugs in there, and they're really up on trends on Pinterest and so forth. I've seen.
Yes.
But I mean, they can set a whole nother statement.
Mm-hmm.
The floor, that's probably the sixth wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it becomes a layering effect, right? So they pick that beautiful LV, the vinyl plank flooring, right? And they've got their new kitchen cabinets installed, and they've got their light fixtures all ready to go. But now it's like, what do we do? What's the next step? Because it becomes a layering process, and it is a layering process.
That's what's nice about it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like it's competing. It's another layer.
Yes, it is.
Like a wardrobe when you wear a different thing over another layer. I mean, that's a good feel.
Right, absolutely. So I think these big oversized scale tribal patterns, the ECAP patterns. Again, I think that ink blot, the way you described it before, that ink blot pattern, it's almost a little bit science inspired.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, I think
it definitely catches attention.
catches
makes you
your
think.
attention. It does. It makes you think.
What do you think about the trend in fringes? I mean, I've even seen fringed light fixtures.
Yeah.
What do you think
I think
about
I saw
that?
it somewhere here
Is
too.
that going to be something you'll be
yeah,
using?
We're looking at it here too, in this
Fringes,
light fixtures. Yeah.
They say
that
fringes are
mesh.
going up on, of course, on pillows, but on lots of other things too. And I thought that was an interesting trend.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I like this one particular fixture that's got spheres and other rods hanging down, and then mesh fringe hanging down.
So the fringes can be metal,
I think
right?
that metal even. If we're not just talking about like material fringe,
Not
but
just cloth.
not just cloth, but metal makes it a lot more interesting as well. So I'm up for it. I think it's just depends
Shag
on.
has fringes.
Shag has fringe.
No comeback for shag yet. Huh?
I don't know about that, but maybe
Alright.
in the light fixture it's a lot different. Definitely interesting.
You could take some fringes and match your cat or match one of your pets, so you can kind of have them concealed in it.
Yeah.
Fluffy can hide.
Right.
Well, I really appreciate talking about these trends. It's just touching on a few subjects here that just show that there's a whole lot to be explored, a whole lot to be discovered. When we work with our clients, I mean, we want them to realize that there's a whole set of opportunities here, and that you're going to keep bringing that world, opening that world to them, and giving them inspiration, giving them ideas that will get them out of their box a little bit and
Yes.
make them a lot happier with their project in the long run whenever they considered more choices.
Right. Absolutely. Like I
And
said.
we also know that you're going to help them to have good resale for the product if they ever did want to resell it, although some will be very personal and not maybe a recommendation, but there are some lasting, consistent trends that are great resale, and if that's the way they want to be, then you'll help them with that as well, and spice it up, but not make it so personal that it couldn't be resold.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
we appreciate what you bring to the table,
All right.
and if people want to get a hold of you, Jamie, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, they can get a hold of me at my website, pinkdoordesigns.com, or you can email me directly at pinkdoordesigner@gmail.com.
And you can always get a hold of us or Jamie at kmbuilders.com. And if you just want to make a phone call, that's 680-KMCO. That's 210-680-KMCO. And we'll get you in touch with a design process that will knock your socks off. Even if you like patterned socks, we can match those socks. But thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Behind the Remodeler, and look forward to talking to you again.
All right. Thanks. Thank you for having me.
That was great. That was really good. It'll probably come in a little over 40 minutes, 42 minutes probably.